Well, sexual misconduct scandals are bringing down both Democrats and Republicans in Washington, all while a candidate accused of targeting teenage girls could be the next senator from Alabama. Loyola Marymount Professor Genovese joins us now. Good morning.
Good morning.
So the Alabama Senate race is 3 days away, and some polls have Roy Moore with a 7-point lead. Others show the race much tighter. Now, if Roy Moore wins, will the Senate kick him out before he even takes the oath?
You're right. The polling, which is not great polling, but it does have Moore in the lead. He could very well win. He got a Trump bump last night from the Pensacola rally, so he could very well win. If he wins, the likely scenario is that he would take the oath. There would be an investigation, and then they would have to decide whether they want to unseat him. So that's the possibility. But it's for the Republicans, it's a devil's bargain. On the one hand, they desperately need his vote. He'd be vote number 52 in the Senate, very tight margin. But you're also saddling yourself with the fact that you've got a pedophilia perpetrator in the Senate, and that's the way people would portray your party in the midterm elections. I mean, what's happened to our nation? We have 9 accusers, credible accusers, 30 supporting witnesses, all of whom say that Moore has done this. The governor of Alabama, a Republican, said, I believe the accusers and I'm voting for Moore. And so, I mean, this is a profoundly hypocritical time for us. 3 members of the Congress have been pushed out, quite rightly, because of sexual harassment. Moore might get elected. President Trump sits in office. Right after Bill Clinton was exposed that he had the Monica Lewinsky affair, I was on a cable station and said he has to resign. He's lost his credibility and his authority. And I think we have to ask the same question about President Trump now. Since these things are now front and center, are we going to do with President Trump what we did with President Clinton, which is basically say this is unacceptable? Otherwise, I think we're being hypocrites.
Well, Senator Al Franken and Congressman John Conyers and Trent Franks have all resigned amid sexual misconduct scandals. All 3 men quit before ethics committee happened. And do you think there are more Washington politicians worried about whether past actions are going to come back to haunt them?
Of course, there are a lot, and there are all kinds of rumors flying around Washington, and a number of people are just shaking in their boots right now. All forms of sexual harassment are wrong, but we have to remember this is not a monolithic thing. There are degrees and gradations. On the one hand, there are those acts which are vulgar and crass and unacceptable, and then there are those which are violent and hideous, and we can't lump them all together. They're all wrong, but they're not all the same, and this is not over.
Okay, and real quick, after the big fanfare of passing the tax reform bill in the Senate, there hasn't been much news about reconciliation. Does that mean it's going well, or does that mean the House and Senate are struggling to reach an agreement?
It was a big win for the president, but it's not over. And right now you've got Republicans especially trying to reconcile some of the promises Trump made to get the Senate to pass the bill, which he may not be able to actually keep those promises. Can he deliver? But, you know, you'll understand this. With holiday season coming up, a lot of families will gather around the table, and some of them will have some pretty vicious fights. The most vicious fights are the family fights. That's what's going on in the Republican Party right now. Vicious, bloody fights over what's going to be in that bill as it reaches fruition. Fortunately for the Republicans, fortunately for our families, that doesn't spill out over into the general public. This will be done behind closed doors.
Okay. All right. Professor Genovese, thanks so much for joining us this morning, and we always appreciate your insight.
Thank you.